Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive?
Oh, wait.
Great. Today we're looking at a book that's causing quite a stir. It's called The Feminine Imperative, Reclaiming Power in a World Designed to Silence Us.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about this one. It's supposed to be pretty intense, gets right to the point.
It does. It really digs into this idea that society systematically disadvantages women and how it's high time to expose and change those systems. What did you think of the book's take on male privilege?
Well, it's interesting. The book argues that male privilege is often used as a way to just shut down any conversation about the real issues women face every day, the challenges they deal with.
Yeah, like the pressure to be perfect moms and have a successful career all at the same time.
Right, and facing things like harassment or the fear of violence. It's a lot to deal with constantly.
Definitely. And the book points out that a lot of men are either completely oblivious to these struggles or even worse, just dismiss them entirely.
Yeah, and it can be really frustrating to feel like you're not being heard or that your experiences aren't being taken seriously.
The book also dives into the whole male breadwinner thing, saying it's actually harmful to both men and women.
Yeah, that was a fascinating part. The book completely dismantles this idea that men are just biologically wired to be the main provider. It says that expectation actually forces men into these really stressful roles that leave them feeling burned out.
Like they're trapped in a system that doesn't really benefit anyone in the long run.
Exactly. And at the same time, it limits women's opportunity. It just reinforces this outdated idea that a woman's main value is in her domestic skills.
So basically, we're all stuck in these roles that no one is truly happy with.
Pretty much.
And the book doesn't stop there. It also challenges those traditional ideas about resilience, the ones that always equate physical strength with toughness.
Yeah, I found that part really insightful. The book argues that true resilience actually comes from enduring all the relentless pressure and expectations that are constantly placed on women.
Which is a whole different kind of strength.
Yeah. Absolutely. It highlights how a woman's emotional strength and her ability to navigate these complex social dynamics are often overlooked or just minimized. Meanwhile, men are praised for feats of physical strength, which honestly are often less impressive when you look at the bigger picture.
It's true. It's like we've been conditioned to value the wrong kinds of strength. And while we're on the topic of societal expectations, the book also really digs into this double bind that men face when it comes to success.
Oh yeah, that was a really insightful section. It argues that men are under this immense pressure to achieve success, often at the expense of their own well-being.
And then they get criticized for the very qualities that got them there in the first place.
Exactly, like their ambition, their assertiveness, their focus on their career.
So it's a no-win situation.
Pretty much.
It's like society wants men to be these strong, successful providers, but then turns around and labels them as toxic or insensitive when they actually embody those traits.
It's a really interesting perspective. The book makes a strong case that this double bind is a direct result of a system that's designed to keep men in a constant state of anxiety and insecurity, which ultimately benefits the status quo.
It's definitely a thought-provoking way to look at it. Now, this next part is where I think things might get a little controversial. The book delves into the concept of male identity and masculinity, and let's just say it doesn't hold back.
Oh, I can't wait to hear what they have to say about that. It argues that traditional notions of masculinity are actually harmful, not just to men themselves, but to society as a whole.
Oh, wow. So it's saying these traditional masculine traits are not actually inherent.
Yeah. The book challenges that idea that men are just naturally aggressive, competitive, and emotionally detached. It suggests that those traits aren't innate at all, that they're actually a result of how society conditions men.
So it's saying men are being forced into these boxes that actually limit their potential for growth and connection.
Exactly. And the book points out that this rigid definition of masculinity actually prevents men from fully expressing themselves. And it also holds them back from forming truly genuine and intimate relationships.
Which makes sense. It's like we've always been told as women that our value is in our ability to be nurturing and supportive, even if it means sacrificing our own needs and ambitions.
Right. And the book makes that connection directly. It says the suppression of emotions in men actually benefits the patriarchal system because it keeps men focused on external achievements and material success instead of, their inner lives and emotional well-being.
So basically it's saying men are kept busy chasing those external markers of success while women are left to deal with all the emotional fallout.
Yeah, that's a pretty good summary of the book's argument, and it goes even deeper than that. It explores how this emotional labor disparity plays out in different parts of life, like romantic relationships and even the workplace.
Yeah, I remember this part. It really hit home for me. It talks about how women are often expected to be the emotional caretakers in relationship. Like they're responsible for not only managing their own emotions, but also their partners and their children's.
Exactly. It's this invisible workload that women carry, constantly having to smooth over conflict, provide support, and maintain some sense of harmony. And the book argues that this emotional labor often goes unnoticed and unappreciated, which leaves women feeling drained and resentful.
Really. It's like we're expected to be these emotional superheroes, always ready to save the day, even if it means sacrificing our own well-being.
Right. And the book challenges that expectation head on. It says women have every right to set boundaries and prioritize their own emotional needs.
Absolutely.
It encourages women to reject that role of being the emotional dumping ground and demand that their partners take responsibility for their own emotional well-being too.
Now, this is where I thought the book got really interesting. It connects this whole emotional labor gap to the bigger issue of male dominance. It argues that men actually benefit from this system because it frees them up to focus on their careers and other things.
Yeah, the book says men are often completely clueless about how much emotional labor women actually do, simply because they've never had to do it themselves. And it suggests that this lack of awareness is a form of privilege. It allows men to just move through the world without having to constantly manage everyone else's emotion.
Right. It's like men are living in a world where the emotional temperature is always set to comfortable, while women are the ones constantly adjusting the thermostat, trying to keep everyone else happy. And the book really dismantles this idea of male protection as a benevolent force.
Yeah, it argues that the whole notion of male protection is actually a tool of the patriarchy. It's designed to keep women dependent on men and reinforce traditional gender roles.
Which is kind of ironic when you think about it, because
Exactly. Men are often the perpetrators of violence against women. And that whole idea of male protection is often used to justify controlling women and limiting their freedom.
it's a pretty sobering thought that the people who are supposed to be protecting us are often the ones we need protection from.
Right. And the book encourages women to reject that narrative of dependence and embrace their own strength and agency. It argues that women are fully capable of protecting themselves, both physically and emotionally, and that they don't need to rely on men for safety or security.
I found that part of the book to be really empowering. Like, it was a call for women to reclaim their power and reject the limitations that society has tried to put on them. It doesn't stop there, though. It also challenges this idea of male confidence as a positive trait.
Oh, yeah. The book argues that male confidence is often just a mask, a way for men to hide their insecurities and try to maintain a sense of control. And it suggests that this overinflated sense of confidence can lead to things like arrogance, recklessness, and a disregard for other people's feelings.
So it's not real confidence. It's more like they're just putting on a show, a way to project this image of strength and dominance.
Exactly. And the book argues that true confidence comes from things like self-awareness, vulnerability, and being willing to acknowledge your weakness. It says men would be much better off cultivating those qualities instead of clinging to this facade of unwavering self-assurance.
It reminds me of the argument earlier about how true strength is actually found in empathy and emotional intelligence, not in aggression or dominance.
It all ties together. And the book really encourages men to embrace those qualities, saying they would not only lead to greater personal fulfillment, but also help create a more just and equitable society for everyone.
So the book is basically saying that this whole traditional masculinity thing, with its focus on stoicism, dominance, and control, is not only outdated, it's actually harmful.
Yeah, pretty much.
But where do we go from here? What does the book propose as an alternative? So we've talked about what the book sees as the problems, but what does it say we should do about it? Like, what's the solution?
Well, it argues that we need to completely redefine what it even means to be a man in today's world. Like a total shift away from those outdated ideas of dominance and control, towards a more balanced and, I guess you could say, holistic understanding of masculinity.
So instead of focusing on those external achievements and material success, the book is suggesting that men should prioritize emotional intelligence, empathy, and connection.
Exactly. And it argues that those qualities are not just essential for their own personal well-being, but also super important for creating a more just and equitable society for everybody.
I can see how that would be important. Does the book actually offer any concrete advice on how men can make this shift?
Yeah, it does. It encourages men to try things like mindfulness meditation and even therapy, things that can help them develop self-awareness and learn to regulate their emotions.
Those are all good things. It also suggests that men seek out mentors or role models who embody this more balanced and holistic way of being masculine.
Right, people who are walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
It's interesting that the book encourages men to actually look to women as examples of emotional intelligence and empathy. It's almost like it's saying women have already figured out how to prioritize connection and well-being.
That's a really interesting point. The book does highlight the strengths that women naturally bring to the table, especially when it comes to emotional intelligence and communication skills. And it suggests that men can learn a lot by observing and emulating those qualities.
So it's not about men trying to become more like women, but more about integrating those traditionally feminine qualities into their own understanding of what it means to be a man.
Exactly. It's about balance. The book argues that we can only achieve true equality when we move past these rigid gender binaries and embrace a more fluid and expansive understanding of human potential.
Right. We need to break free from those limiting boxes.
Totally.
So it sounds like the book is advocating for a much more nuanced and balanced approach to gender, one that values the unique strengths of both men and women. But it also seems to be making a pretty bold claim about female creativity.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. It basically argues that women's creative contributions have been systematically overlooked, minimized, or even straight up stolen for centuries.
Wow, that's a pretty serious accusation.
It is. The book says this erasure of female creativity is a part of a larger pattern of patriarchal control that's meant to maintain male dominance.
That's pretty intense. And it makes you
Yeah.
think about how different history might look if women's creative voices had been given the recognition they deserve.
It really does. The book actually gives a bunch of examples of women throughout history who made groundbreaking contributions in all kinds of fields, from science and technology to art and literature.
Women who were pioneers in their own right.
And it highlights the fact that these women often faced incredible obstacles and discrimination, but they persevered anyway. They made their mark on the world despite all of that.
It's so inspiring to think about those women who defied the odds and made their voices heard. Makes you wonder how much more we could achieve as a society if we truly embraced and nurtured female creativity.
The book says that unleashing that full creative potential of women would lead to massive innovation and progress in every area of society. It suggests that women's unique perspectives and approaches would bring fresh ideas and solutions to the table.
So it's not just about fairness and equality. It's about tapping into this incredible resource that's been largely ignored for far too long.
Precisely. And the book challenges us to imagine that world, a world where female creativity is not only recognized, but actively encouraged and supported, and to start working towards creating that world right now.
So it's a call to action for both women to embrace their creative power and for men to become allies in this movement towards a more just and equitable world.
That's a great way to put it. The book definitely leaves you with a feeling of hope and possibility. By working together, we can create a future where every single person has the opportunity to reach their full potential.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive. The Feminine Imperative, Reclaiming Power in a World Designed to Silence Us, is a book that will definitely make you think. It challenges our assumptions about gender power and creativity, and it lays out a vision for a future where everyone can thrive. If you're interested in learning more, you can find the book on Amazon and Kindle and Google Play books. We highly recommend checking it out.